Do we have a moral responsibility to protect the people of all nations, such as Sudan, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Burma?
Yes, we do. The means are going to vary. Our partners in such efforts will vary. But the emerging quasi-legal norm of a responsibility to protect, which was endorsed unanimously by the General Assembly in September 2005, needs to be taken seriously and is taken seriously. Now, what does the responsibility to protect entail? Well, only as the most drastic measure do you contemplate military action. I wrote a piece in the Washington Post in February 2004. This is the first time in a venue that prominent anyone had said that genocide was occurring in Darfur. They gave it the appropriate title, Unnoticed Genocide. And I concluded by saying that if we do not see intervention, by which I meant military intervention, to protect defenseless civilians who are being killed in phenomenal numbers, then we're going to see tens of thousands of additional casualties of genocide in the coming weeks and months. Now, as it happens, that was exactly true. That was precisely the case. And we're now coming up on the 6th anniversary of the publication of my op-ed. And it's something I look at with very, very mixed feelings. I was gratified to see my views disseminated so widely. I was appalled that just dropped like a stone in water. It didn't gain any resonance. There was no move. But again, this is a case where it was quite clear. I had no access to some access to confidential information, but that wasn't what I was talking about. I was talking about what was fully in the public domain, what was coming from Amnesty International, what was coming from Doctors Without Borders. It was very clear that genocide was occurring, and the nature of the genocidal animus in the attacks. There's an instance where, however difficult military intervention might have been, we really could have saved perhaps hundreds of thousands of lives. When you're doing a cost-benefit analysis, to put it in the most harshly mechanical terms, well, then the risk when hundreds of thousands of lives are going to be lost, if you can foresee that, are justified. But most of the time, it will take other forms. There are other ways to protect people in the Congo. There are different ways of bringing pressure to bear on the Burmese junta. The neighboring Asian countries of ASEAN, for example, need to be much more responsible in confronting Burma. The U.S. can use its various leverage in bilateral relations, but the means by which a responsibility to protect are taken up, means that are going to be utilized in taking up that responsibility are going to vary. Darfur is the only case I can think of recently where we could see clearly that tens of thousands of people would definitely die, and if I could have imagined in February 2004 that this would go on for as long as it has, and I would have said hundreds of thousands are going to die. And now the most common figure cited is 300,000. I think that's still low. I've done a lot of work on mortality totals. I believe that's a low figure, particularly in violent mortality. But at what point do we say that, with great reluctance, obviously, military action is all that can protect innocent civilians? If we don't act too many people will die.
And what would it say about our country if we enacted anti-genocide legislation?
It depends on the nature of the legislation. I think it would show that the Darfur advocacy movements have had a real impact, that Darfur has been a kind of searing reminder that for all the fine language following the Rwandan genocide, the Bosnian genocide, or the Holocaust, never again is just hollow words. Legislation that commits the U.S. to active monitoring and specific policies when genocidal potential is detected would make clear that we've learned something from Darfur and other genocides. So I think it would be a positive step. It's not a step by itself that is going to do much, but it certainly signals a willingness to engage with the issue. And ideally, the legislation would have built into it the possibilities of multilateral diplomacy and action, and perhaps even support for international bodies. The U.S. is in some ways hamstrung by the fact that it refuses to ratify the International Criminal Court through the Rome Statute. Well, how seriously do you take international justice if you won't ratify the one instrument of international justice that's presently available to deal with not only crimes against humanity and war crimes, but genocide specifically?